See if I remember how to do this here.
All right. We want to go through a rehearsal.
Well, let's see.
Turn the ON OFF switch to the ON position.
Engage O in position. Over.
Copy.
S1E10.
Doesn't say where it is. Salisbury. I guess it doesn't really matter.
Here we go.
The Salisbury Tabernacle Church.
Tabernacle.
I think it said tabernacle.
What's a tabernacle?
What I remember tabernacle being is the place that God lives, the body, and it had the Eucharist and the blood and the wine, which represents the blood of Christ.
Right.
And all that was kept in the tabernacle behind the altar. This is Catholic Church, by the way. So,
yeah, you were raised Catholic, so that sounds like a...
Yeah, it was very a lot of pomp and circumstance in Catholic and Lutheran, but mainly Catholic. There's a lot of genuflecting, and you know what genuflect is?
No,
that's kneeling.
What
down.
A word!
Kneeling down.
Oh, right,
yeah.
right.
So anyway, there's, and I'm sure I'm probably getting it mostly wrong because I didn't do well in Catholic Sunday school either. So besides getting my
but you remember tabernacle?
Getting my knuckles whacked by one of the nuns.
Oh yeah, they'd get the rulers.
Sisters. Whatever they had, it's like my mom, whatever she could get a hold of. There was a fly swatter, a shoe, whatever she, a spatula, a spoon. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, a hard spoon.
Every once in a while, she had the belt hanging behind the door. And
kids today don't know how good they got
dude,
it.
Dude, let me tell you, when the belt came out, it was on, baby. It was on. Discipline, corporal punishment at its best. It was a consequence when you did something wrong.
Was it always clear what you did wrong?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. There wasn't any vagueness to my.
Well, at least there's that.
Yeah.
It'd be a shame for discipline to be used without.
Cause.
Was it taxation without representation?
Yeah, well, my mom represented well. She had 4 kids to raise, and then my pop left when I was 15, and she had a handful.
Had to step in.
And there was a certain point where she started beating on me, and I was like, "Mom, you need to stop," because it just wasn't doing anything.
Oh no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I deserved it, I'm sure, but there was a turning point where she's going like, "I got no control now."
Oh, well, and you got bigger, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I did.
Harder to hit.
Yeah. No, easier to hit, but harder to feel.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know how we got off on corporal.
Man. Comment down below
if
you had some of that.
Oh yeah.
growing up.
If you grew up during the 60s, 70s, and 80s and before, you were spanked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not capital punishment, it's corporal punishment.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And they did it in school. Matter of fact, I got whacked pretty good in the 6th grade, for doing whatever I was doing.
You remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess that was the point.
It was the point.
To make sure you remember.
It quote drove it home, so to speak.
Man.
Then I got spanked some in middle school for various reasons.
Yeah.
The principal took care of that, though. They took you to the principal.
Yeah, you had to go to the executive branch.
They passed it up the food chain, and I'd rather some of the older teachers to whack, but no, he had a big,
strong young principal.
He was a big guy, and he had a waffle paddle.
Oh, specifically for the job.
Just for that in the gym. I mean, we're really getting off on a tangent here.
Listen, I'm riding your tangent wave, man.
But, about how many times I got whacked in my life. Anyway, it left a mark, and not physically, but mentally.
Oh, sure.
It's all here.
I mean, there's a reason they don't do it anymore.
I guess. I mean, I think we could.
Sometimes it feels like it should still be. Implemented.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why, because of abuse, but we walked the straight line.
Yeah,
we knew when we got off of it. So it's like anything else in life. There's consequences for mistakes and things you shouldn't have done. And if there's no consequence, then just keep doing it. And that's where we're
at. Unmitigated bad behavior will continue to be bad, I suppose.
And be rewarded almost.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Well, nowadays it certainly seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, welcome to the podcast, everybody.
I may or may not cut all that part out.
That might not be any good. You can
just the holidays, back from the holidays.
Yeah, let's start talking about getting beat for.
Maybe I'll leave it in now.
Yeah.
Now that we've addressed how weird it was.
The nuns whacking your knuckles and corporal punishment.
Well, first off, help me slate here.
All right.
Should have done that up top.
Here we are. We are Season 1, Episode 10, Salisbury, North Carolina Tabernacle Church.
Of the Black Dog Salvage podcast.
Exactly.
Slate us up there.
All that right there.
Nice crisp smack.
Got it.
Cool.
So here we are, everybody. Welcome and Happy New Year to everybody. We haven't been on the podcast in this year.
Yeah, man. We've tried. We thought about doing it Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and I brought all the stuff over, but it's fine. You know, we were like, we'd rather just have a long breakfast and chill, and I'm sure you guys understand. How was your Christmas Eve, if you celebrate Christmas, that is?
How was your end-of-year festivities, you know, the solstice?
That's right.
Yeah, I love that solstice.
The start of winter.
Start of winter. You know why, right? Because the days start getting longer after that. You've hit the pinnacle of the rotation or the pitch of the Earth, axis pitch, and now it's getting longer.
This is that wobble.
The wobble, right. It's kind of a figure eight. If you ever watched Castaway. Yeah. Did you ever watch the movie Castaway?
Part of it, not that part.
Well, he kept track. He was there for 4 years, supposedly, and he kept track in a cave the marks at a certain time of day.
Right.
And, you know, where the sun would align on this thing, on the wall, and it turned, and came back around. And so at the bottom, the top was summer, bottom was winter. And then it would start to get longer. The days would get longer until the turn again, the summer solstice, which again is one of my saddest days.
Yeah, it's a real bummer.
You know, because the days are starting to get shorter.
Yeah,
and I don't like that. Anyway,
it's a cold, dark, rainy day here in Roanoke, Virginia today, and I'm certainly looking forward to the days getting longer and warmer. That's for sure. But it's going to get colder before.
We've been pretty lucky. We had a couple of the first of the year we had a real snap.
Oh yeah, our Christmas Eve here was 6 degrees.
Right.
We were y'all were out of power, you and Mom, and which meant no heat.
Yes.
Your whole house is water heated.
Yes, it is.
And
gas-fired water heat, and we didn't have any electricity to run the gas. The spark motors and stuff. Oh,
sure, right. But it came back on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, we were.
And I went over and stayed with you guys. It was a cold slumber.
Yeah, it started out
45 degrees at night.
It
took a while to come back.
You know what? It goes back to thinking of when we had that. You know, we were struggling supposedly with heat and not letting the pipes freeze and that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, there's people out there that have no electricity, have never had electricity, or they've had electricity and have had it bombed away from them.
That's true. Or don't even have a house.
Started thinking, yeah, exactly, and how miserable that is, and how exposed you are to the elements and to Mother Nature and Mother Man. It's just there's no cover. There's no comfortable cover. Mm-mm. And I just had a thought about that. There's plenty of folks around the world, Ukraine being one of them right now because it's the most obvious. Mm-hmm. I did a reality check for myself and just said, I'm grateful. Be grateful for what you got. I mean, it's not as bad as you think.
No, the problems that we tend to blow up here in this country are pale in comparison to the strife that most of the country, most of the world. Yeah, and
we're blessed. We're lucky.
It's mind blowing to me that some people are like, "Well, I hate it here. Well, so unfair."
Yeah,
like, man, this is as good as it gets.
You're lucky to have power, 8 hours a day.
No kidding.
And that's more the norm than not anywhere else in the world. I mean, there's power grids and power distribution is it's funny how
it's finicky
how it can go out one place and really not it involves certain areas, but like there's houses beside us and up the street that we're on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My shop here never lost power, but the brewery across the street lost power.
Yeah. So it's just being thankful for 2022, 2023. Power's on. and we're recording. Today's podcast is brought to you by Defiant American Whiskey.
All right.
Okay, Defiant is...
Do they know?
No, they do not know. They do not know. But it's what's the name of it? Blue Ridge Distilling Company in Golden Valley, North Carolina.
Okay.
And we met these guys. They were being vetted for a reality show.
They were.
Yeah, well, not just the bourbon though. The group of people that this represents are salvage divers.
Oh, these guys.
Yeah, and they
Florida?
go all up. Nope, they're in North Carolina.
Oh.
They go all over the world to salvage dive and do repairs and that crazy stuff. That mixed gases, diving.
Yeah.
Nitro. Anyway, helium dives. These guys do that kind of stuff. And
Wow.
I've done a little bit in one of the episodes. I don't know if it's season 10 or 11.
Yeah, the Amelia Island.
Yeah,
Island deal.
I went down with and pretended to be a salvage diver. I was more like, go to the bottom and hold on, and you couldn't see things. Anyway, that's another. I have a respect for those guys, but anyway, they make a great whiskey, and I have been sampling it, and I've enjoyed it, and so you get a attaboy.
There you go.
And it's good whiskey, Can
you get it in the ABC store?
That's where I got that.
There you go.
That's right. It has North Carolina seal on tax seal.
The Defiant American Single Malt Whiskey by Blue Ridge Distilling Company in Golden Valley, North Carolina.
Right.
Nice, man.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Have you tried some?
I haven't yet.
Yeah, give her a little pour. I'll take another one to get us started here.
Do a little bit.
Yeah.
13 minutes in, and they don't even know what we're talking about today.
That's right. Well, we're talking about put a little bit more on that one. Thank you.
Well, here, let me start we got to play the music.
Oh, okay, let's get going.
We're all backwards here.
I know. Hopefully, we can edit out pretty good.
Here, let's get into the show. Smells strong.
It's
Crisp.
tasty. I like that tambourine coming in there. Percussion.
All right.
Very nice.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Black Dog Salvage podcast. My name is Tay Whiteside, and beside me, as always,
Mike Whiteside, the what's that? What did Billy call it? The paterfamilias?
Paterfamilias?
Yes.
Familia?
The family of the father or the...
Father of the family,
father
I guess.
of the
That's what
family.
they said in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah.
Paterfamilias.
Anyway.
He's bona fide.
We're in Roanoke, Virginia again, is where Tay and I always live.
Here at the shop, it's cold and rainy here in Roanoke on this
miserable
Sunday.
outside.
Yeah, really doesn't make you want to do much.
Well, I don't want to do much most days. But
honestly, same.
Today, I even have less motivation. This is one of those where you sit on the couch or you sit on your favorite chair and grab a bourbon and watch golf. It
really is amazing how much the weather affects. At least not me, us. It seems I'm super seasonally affected. I'm doubling down on my vitamin D.
Absolutely.
Supplements right now. Try to keep the happy going. try to mitigate the lows.
Is that the vitamin depression?
It's an awful fitting letter for what it helps you with.
Depression. Yeah,
I got a little.
Well, again, I haven't lived up in the Northwest, which is typically overcast. We get a little bit of everything here in Roanoke. So
we sure do,
which is great if you like the seasons. I'm truly trying to go only 2 seasons, maybe just one. Summer.
If we could just go right from fall to spring, I'd be fine with that.
Well, I'll see what I can do. I'll get working on that one. I'm going to get working on it a lot faster. But today's job that we're going to go over is season 1 still.
Yes, that's right. This is episode 10 of season 1. Yeah. We will be talking about the Foursquare Church that we salvaged, among other things. And I found a website, actually, that lists, you can look up any show and any episode of any show, and it'll tell you the original air date. I know we have this data somewhere, but I took it upon myself to find it.
Well, it's
the
out
original air date of Season 1, Episode 10 of Salvage Dogs was June 29th, 2013.
Okay.
So that's where we were. Well, actually, and we would have done the job earlier that year.
Yeah.
Maybe even the year before.
And it was summer, as I remember.
Yeah.
It was windy that day, as I remember. And it played well. You know, we got that job through the pastor at the time. Their congregation had gone or had diminished to almost nothing, and they were going to sell the land and demo the church. That's where we came in and bought salvage rights to it, and and showed up.
Remember what you paid?
I don't. I should know that. Robert would probably know. We'd have to go back in the archives.
I mean, it was 10 years ago.
It wasn't a lot. I mean, maybe a couple grand for the whole church, which was a lot for us still. But I remember the crew. We had Jeff Lanter, who was one of our executive producers.
Jeff has a special attachment to this episode for me for a reason I'll explain
I know.
later.
We'll get into that in a little bit.
But the episode actually opens with a wow. You brought in 2 giant porcelain urns.
Well, they were
jugs.
They were jugs, the big jugs.
Yeah.
Two big terracotta
had
jugs.
Some real nice jugs come in.
They were huge, and I'm a jug guy. I like American jugs.
Listen, who doesn't love a good trailer load of jugs?
These came from the American Viscose plant, and that was the rayon plant. That was a big not importer, but developer and manufacturer of rayon, which was used in parachutes, and it was kind of a synthetic silk.
It was a textile.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
And that's where these were originally. And then I got them from another fella that had picked them up through the years, and I just, I said, what's it going to take to get those jugs over at Black Dog?
I mean, how'd you find them? You drive past them, or they call you?
No, he called me. And even back then, we had folks calling us for salvage. Hey, I got this, I got that.
Yeah.
And this was close in Roanoke, so I said, let me go and take a look at them, and fell in love with them. And I just, and now I got to figure out, what do you want, X, and then what can we sell them for?
Yeah. They were what, 8 feet tall, 6 feet tall?
They were more than 6. They were probably 7, 7.5, maybe 8 are tall.
Terracotta. Kind of, if you haven't seen them, the episode, they kind of look like those classic jugs from old cartoons that had 3 X's on them.
Yeah, the crock. And that's all this was a big crock, And it, who knows what it held? It probably a caustic or a fluid that was involved with the manufacture of rayon.
Yeah, and it's funny too because terracotta, I guess, is inert in every way. You could put anything in it.
Well, it was glazed terracotta.
Yeah. It was such an ornate thing that probably served a very boring mechanical purpose.
It was a vessel. It could have been, and probably had to be inert because whatever was passing through. But anyway, we brought those in, and it kind of turned some heads.
Oh, sure. Robert's,
large terracotta jugs will on the back of a trailer.
They were great. Old Red, the pickup, pulled them in on the flatbed. Robert, of course, being shot doing something on a clipboard up front, which was a rare thing to have occurred.
And the wow was it was fairly staged, not scripted, but staged, because we just didn't come in. You think these things happen in sequence, but they don't.
Sure.
We probably got these things, could have had them a month before we shot the episode, but that stuff all kind of gets put into a pile and leave it to the editors to kind of break it up and attach everything to it.
They did become fixtures in the parking lot for sure.
Yeah, I mean
they were in that. You gotta have that like island sort of right there.
They were in harm's way because somebody run into those things. It's going to cost me $1,000.
Did they hurt the jug when they hit it or the car? I can't remember.
No, nobody hit it. Nobody hit it.
Oh, okay.
We moved them out of that area after a while just because they were.
We had some close calls.
And people don't use their rearview mirrors, especially older folk.
That's true. My car got hit in that parking lot.
Yeah,
Same
I know.
reason.
It happens more than I'd like to admit, but accidents do happen. So that was kind of the real cool part of the. Not a whole lot more romance into the jugs. They were cool, and that's what I look for. I look for unusual.
And just another cool piece to be like, wow, did you see those jugs at Black Dog?
Yeah, whatever it takes to stop you, We'll putting out some oversized jugs on the road. If that stops you, right on.
Heck yeah.
We had Herman the German out there at one time, and that was our display area. We would roll stuff out.
Yeah, I wonder. I guess the filming of this, Herman's probably still there. Season 1, Herman was only a few episodes ago.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So we don't know. Herman might still be hanging around in the show somewhere.
But of course, we go from the wow to the round table, and
that's the another not scripted but
staged for sure.
Yeah,
those parts. We've talked about the round table and what it is almost every episode now, so they probably get it. But that part always was like the most uncomfortable for me because it's like they're looking at you and they're looking for reactions, and you're supposed to. I have a hard time with eye contact anyway, so I'm just like, where do I look? Who do I nod?
Yeah, what do I do with my
smile?
hands?
Am I smiling too much? Am I holding my face weird?
After a while, and Grayson wasn't in the round table.
No,
but she was on the job. So this was obviously very early in her time with us. I don't know why she wasn't in the round table. That didn't make any sense.
I don't. Well, I guess what would that be? 5 people in one shot.
Yeah,
everyone's trying to.
What we did it for a while. Well, we got better at it. We wouldn't step on each other too often like we do sometimes.
Like we do in this show.
Well, not as much. Not as much.
We did get kind of trained.
So we went through what was going on, the build, which was pretty cool.
This is an interesting one. I feel like the build was a big part of this episode for a few reasons. One, I guess people thought it was somewhat controversial. Why'd you cut that Chris Craft in half?
Well, the reason I cut it in half was it was called a land and sea, and I think they call it beach and sink. Something. It had a funky name to it, but it sank. It had a propensity to sink.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So this was a fiberglass Chris Craft?
Yeah, 4-seater. Probably had outboards. Had an outboard single. It wasn't a real big boat. We got it from the guy down in Norfolk that had the boat collection, and this was sitting out. I think it almost had a tree growing through it. It was out in the weeds, and I made an offer for that. And of course, as soon as you cut it in half on national TV, you're going to get some people looking at you going like, "What did you just do to that jewel?" I said, "Well, I do that a lot." So,
yeah. Well, and then you have to retell that story a million times. Well, actually, just like the houses we salvage. Why didn't you save that? Why are you? Listen, it sat for sale for 20 years.
Yeah. Where's your money?
Cost $2 million to bring it back to spec. So shockingly, nobody wanted to pay that.
Yeah,
so
and that's
here we are.
And that's the plight we have today. And that's what all the things we get. I've seen some beautiful Victorians the other day that I followed up on, and they'd already knocked them down. And they weren't too far away, but that kind of stuff, it just it breaks your heart. I used to get all upset about spilt salvage, but I don't anymore.
Spilt salvage,
yeah, like spilt milk. Same thing.
Well, for everyone that we were able to sell, there were thousands more that didn't make it.
Oh gosh, every day, and like I say, every day we get a hit, and
still
we try to forward that information on to like-minded folks who can take these things apart. Or at least we'll salvage something. Most people don't think they can salvage something, but if they really thought about it, I should do a video of how to salvage, how to take a door out.
It's remarkably simple.
It is. You got to. We broke a lot of windows figuring out how to get windows out, and so it comes pretty natural to us. But
you used your window extraction skills later in this episode.
Yeah, this was a good one when it came to that. Early on, but we were at what was the other place we went to?
The build to stay on the build for a moment.
All right.
A few things stuck out to me. Of course, we're still in the old shop 1.0 here, and I noticed the old Grizzly green straight blade planer that was a fixture of that shop for a long time. The loudest woodworking tool I think I've ever used.
Yeah,
a 24-inch straight blade planer. There's not much.
There was a lot of whacking going on.
Not much louder than that, especially if they were dull. Yeah.
And he just shoved it through.
You could tell the first board you're pushing through, you could see all the lines from where it got stuck.
Yeah.
And you had to pull it, and it got stuck again, and you got to pull it. We wrestled that thing all the time.
You just keep good blades on it, that's the key,
And then you were, I guess, the first part of the build that they captured was you cut the back end of the boat off.
Yeah, you got to identify what you want to do, and right off the bat, I saw, I didn't see the whole boat as a project. I saw part of it, and the back seat was a bench.
The whole back of that boat, or the stern, it's called.
That's right.
Was really cool looking. Had the fins.
Had the fins, had those 1950s fins on it,
Yeah,
and it had a little well or a cofferdam, they call it, that where the controls were, and the motor was bolted onto the back. And
yeah.
so I said, well, let's just make a settee out of it,
Now, what, for the people at home and me, what is a settee?
Small couch.
Small couch.
Settee, yeah. It's a small couch, kind of a love seat, I guess. Love, they call them love seats or something. But it's
a cozy 2-person couch, or
it's a settee. Yeah. I think it's French or something. I'm not sure. But you say
omelette du fromage.
You say settee in the biz, and people know what it is.
Furniture people know what that is, and now you guys do. How about that?
There you go. So next time you sit in your settee, invite somebody to sit in the settee with you. Hi.
So your plan of attack after we sliced the back end off of it was to build a yoke, almost like a cradle.
Right.
You took like a 6x4.
Those were the old bourbon beams.
That's right.
We had those cut in half. These were beams. I call them bourbon beam because they came from the Old Crow Bourbon Distillery when they took it down, and one of our partners was in that conglomeration of folks that bought the salvage, and what he got for the salvage was 900 beams.
They were awesome.
Rocks and some other pieces that came out of it. We still got all the rocks, got none of the beams. Out of 900, we sold them all.
They were basically, as they were, perfect mantles.
Right.
They were like 8 feet long, maybe 8 inches deep, 4 inches thick. Holes in them. I guess they were the floor beams.
These were for the racks. These are what the cask set in, and they were built, high.
Yeah,
bunch of them. I just ran across a bunch of them. Somebody just sent me an email. Somebody has a bunch more of them.
Really?
I can identify them immediately as soon as I see them.
Yeah,
7 foot 10 inches long. Okay. Every one of them, and they're beautiful heart pine. So we had them cut into boards and made tables and stuff out of them.
Oh, we used them for years and years and years. They sat out back behind Black Dog. But you took one of those then, and the first thing you did after we planed it in that planer was you put this giant 4x8 beam through the smallest vertical bandsaw I've ever seen. Because this is what we had. Had to cut that moon shape out of the beam to make this cradle.
Right, so that's what I was doing.
And you can hear that thing just like, just struggling.
Well, you do with what you got.
You made it work. We did that for a while.
Yeah, it did the job not as proficiently as a good saw could do.
But it did it.
It got it done.
Yeah.
But we're building a cradle like in boats and yards. They build cradles for boats that fit the hull and certain areas that are strong enough to handle the load of the boat. Yeah. Which would be a frame. All the naval architects and anybody in the boat business that has any insurance claims, that's probably where it is, where they misload a boat onto a cradle. So I built this just so you could roll it around. It kind of looked like a boat in a boatyard. And then we had Christie. Remember Christie?
I do. I made it a specific point to write her name down. I hate to say this out loud, but I'd almost forgotten about her. She was awesome. Yeah, she was a badass. Hard worker. Smart. Really smart.
Yep. And so she wasn't much of a woodworker, but she came down. I needed somebody to continue on the build, so to speak, and she was the one. So we walked her through a bunch of stuff, and she was filmed on camera. Didn't like it at all. She was very
sort of off the grid kind of thing.
She just wasn't comfortable with it, and I understand.
Well, yeah, I totally understand. Yeah. I don't think at this point I was still fully comfortable on camera. So,
but she didn't come to Black Dog to be on a show, but everybody that was there, got exposed one way or the other, unless they say, I don't want to be on camera.
It's like the plague.
And that's fair.
You get exposed.
Well, it was. You're going to be in the show sooner or later.
Yeah.
And most people didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah. We were actually pretty lucky with how many people kind of took to it, honestly.
Yeah.
Steve and Jeff and Cam and all the guys that.
Oh, yeah. Everybody
weren't mains, but took to it.
The production company was easy.
Heck yeah, they were.
So this thing turned out really good. We did a paint job on it, just kind of refresh what was there. I bought a vintage Coke cooler that I put in the back.
Old aluminum thing.
Yeah, and so it sat on the floor for quite a while.
It was, again, a fixture in the store, and honestly, one of the most satisfying before and afters we've done this season, I think.
This season,
because you see this boat get chopped off. And And
so
then the wood and the paint and the teak. I think you did a teak step on the front,
right?
And I think even a teak insert, maybe not teak in the back, but
yeah,
which is so appropriate for a boat of that era.
Yeah,
you know?
that was teak. I didn't have a lot of teak, but I kind of went into my private stock, and there was a boat that I did a lot of work on called Ilona, and it had a lot of teak they pulled off, and they didn't reuse it. So
that was repurposed teak from that boat.
Yeah, and I still got a little bit left. I use a little bit for Skippy, or if I'm doing something, like I made a scutcheon for some hardware at home. I put a few of those together. So it's getting down to a smaller piece, but that was actual Burmese teak. That was repurposed.
Can't even get that stuff anymore. Probably.
Well, you can, but it's not the same.
It's not ethical.
Yeah, well, there's harvested forest. I mean, there's harvested sustainability. The teak is real slow growing.
So it makes it so hard.
Yeah, and it's expensive these days. But that thing turned out really well.
It was awesome. You had the snap-on waterproof cushions.
Right.
Nice paint job.
So it looked like a boat.
It was awesome.
You're sitting in the back of a boat. Yeah, they do those in bars where you're sitting in the back of a car or sitting in the front seat of a car.
Oh, where did it end up going? Do you remember? Because it would have been perfect in like a themed restaurant or a seafood restaurant or something.
It was an individual who bought it. I don't know where it got off to. But I was just happy to see it go. As always, everybody says, "Well, I see you still have that piece." I said, "Yeah, unfortunately."
That is a funny beat, right? Yeah. They come in and talk about see something from an episode that aired 5 years ago, and it's so cool that you still have that, and we're like, because it hasn't sold.
That's
no one wants to buy it.
Priced it too heavy, I guess, which people will blame us a lot.
Yeah, you got to have a more zoomed out context for the architectural market.
It depends on our pricing is, I always say, at or below the national average for what this is. But you don't know what the national average is,
right? Well, and now we kind of do, because we exposed to like Manhattan markets and California markets and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and these are custom pieces, so they should be able to stand alone and be almost priceless. Almost.
That's right. Well, we'll transition to the salvage now, but I figured, they were still doing the pre-commercial trivia questions on season 1.
Right.
So I wrote this one down, and I'll ask you, see if you know. Where is the largest stained glass window in the United States located?
It's in Illinois, I think.
It is in Illinois.
But that's all I know.
Did you write that down?
I know. I just watched the show about a half hour ago.
Dang it. I was hoping you clicked off on that one.
And it was huge, evidently.
Yeah, I didn't study the answer.
There were some stats on it, but, it had 22,000 square feet or something of stained glass. Yeah. It's hard to put your arms around that, I've seen some big stained glass before, but that's huge.
This is actually, let's cut to the salvage. Here we go, a little stinger. I just wanted to push the button.
Okay.
Anyway, so we're talking about the salvage now, which was the old brick four-square church in Salisbury, North Carolina, built in 1905, 4,215 square feet in a Romanesque revival style.
Yeah, really high-pitched roofs. And this place was what I was told was going to come down, and so when it comes down, you hate to lose that stuff, and like I say, it happens every day. And most folks don't have the wherewithal or even the inclination to take stuff like this out.
Well, and to take it a step further, they wouldn't have the facilities to house it and store it, and resources to sell it, and the network to list it and expose it to the public. There's a lot that goes into it.
God, how do we make money?
It's a lot of moving parts.
All that stuff going on.
Yeah.
I don't know how we make a living.
Well, in this case, the stained glass was the main goal.
Right. Two half-round, I think they were like 12 feet wide.
Yeah, 12 by probably 6 or so, half circles.
Yes, a little over 6.5 tall.
I remember the dialogue between you and Robert in the interview coming into the salvage was, you were talking about the smaller double-hung stained glass windows underneath the big ones.
Yeah.
And you had remarked that the smaller windows is going to pay for the job. Because it's easy to pull out, not a lot of effort, and they're sellable. So that's almost your, like, as you put it, wow, look at us. At least we're breaking even.
Yeah.
That's our goal, is to break even.
It's called ROI, which is return on investment. And you start adding it up, and And, you know, everybody goes, well, you're going to do this. I said, not necessarily as far as make money on it. You know, we don't make the money on it till we sell it. And there's a lot that happened between the point of salvage to the point of sale. And we got to market it, we got to love it, got to house it, insure it, you know, repair it possibly.
Which is all, you know, fun and interesting to do, you know, like pouring over the piece when you get it back and cleaning it and doing the research. That's all, you know, interesting and cool, but it takes time.
The smaller stained glass panels in the double hungs are a lot more usable for most folks. I mean, you got to have you really have
For one, you can put it in a car.
First off, yeah, it's cash and carry. And then the next one is you know, more people are looking for that kind of stuff. And it didn't have any religious connotation to it.
Yeah, it wasn't overly religious.
Yeah, it was just really, really pretty and beautiful colors. So that sold quickly. And we had these guys hanging up in Black Dog for... No, we had them hung up in the garden room.
The big half rounds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it was the Pittsburgh windows that were hanging in the marketplace for a long time.
Right. And those finally went as well. I still got one left.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. But nobody knows about that one because it happened pre-show. Yeah. So
the last episode of this podcast will be, here's what's still left at Black Dog.
Yeah. We'll take a 2-hour meander just to show you what we still have left.
I'd probably love that.
But these were sized properly. I mean, they're going to be from the first one I ever did, which was the Washington, not Washington,
PA
salvage. Is I learned that we needed to have we put stabilizers on, which were those 2x4s.
Yeah.
And then we wrapped a choker or lift strap under it. But there was just no place to hang it, so I had to create a center point to take the load, and hopefully it would have enough resistance to be able to work.
It's a wild rig. So if you didn't see the extraction, these two giant half round windows were up high in the eave, you know, sort of in the pointy bit of the wall. 10, 15 feet off the ground, something like that. Maybe more.
The top was more, but the bottom was probably around 10.
Yeah, and of course, in typical cowboy physicist manner, to lower something down, you need somewhere to attach it to, right? Hopefully, overneath is almost what I said. Over top, the middle of the piece, and then we didn't have that. So what you did was take a rope between like a joist on the left and a joist on the right, made a sling like a triangle, and then hung your block and tackle from that. Now, force-wise, that's an interesting rig because the more horizontal that rope is, the force is actually pulling in on those joists versus down.
Correct.
Which is if they're not in there, it's a good way to just yank those things together.
Yeah, they weren't superficial; they were structural, and so so by cutting a 3/4 or a 1-inch hole in it, it would have weakened that one a little bit, but not enough for it to fall out. So I was pretty good about that. If I have to go into to beat a wall apart to get to a joist or a stud to hook up, that's what we'll do. But you're only as good as the anchor's only as strong as its weakest link, and so we try not to provide the weak link. We tried to share the load all over, but these came out perfect.
Really smooth extraction, I must say.
Yeah, it's very good.
Applause.
It was kind of funny though. I found out later, and Tay could probably attest to this, is Jeff Lanner had come to him because one of them was in pretty bad shape.
Yeah, one was far better, probably the leeward side of the building versus the windward. But
whatever the cause was that caused it to be less stable. But he came to you and offered you $50 to drop it.
I wrote 20. The point was it was a very small amount of money. Well, and there were 4 of us. They cut it out of the shot. I guess Jeff was real close by. It's always funny because you don't even think about the camera crew when you're watching it. But in reality, they're always just off screen. Right. They're like just behind the camera. So there were 4 of us carrying this one window out. I was at the back, and I remember he either whispered it to me or he said it pretty quietly because I don't think everybody knew. He goes, I'll give you $20 to drop your end of this thing. And I knew better, thankfully. I'm like, no, you're going to have to do a lot more than that.
So when I found out about him, I guess it was that night, I said, Jeff, if you'd have told me, and if you'd have come out with some real folded money, like $200 or $300, I'd have dropped it. I dropped it out of the slot. I mean, not to be...
That still seems low.
That was low, but, I was trying to stay within his budget of bribery.
Yeah.
And
letting him know that it's going to take a little, you got to get real.
Yeah.
How bad do you want this accident to happen?
And so it didn't. It got out, and we brought it home, and...
the wind almost took it, as I saw.
Yeah, I didn't.
It got real breezy loading it in the truck, and it was sitting on that cart, and the thing was a giant,
big sail.
Yeah,
it'll take off on you. And then we had the old Isuzu.
Susie.
Yeah, she was in her early days, but we got it out, and one of the windows went to one of the guys who started our show. Not Bill Hayes is one, but this was Kurt Straub, and his girlfriend, wife, Deanie.
Kurt and Deanie.
Yeah, and they built a barn. And they needed something big to put in the end of the barn, and that's where that went.
Cool.
And I took it down. I got pictures of it. It looks great, but it made a small performance center.
Oh,
where
beautiful.
People come in, like these home concerts, and it's got a nice stage on it. It's built for sound. Really cool space.
And that's in the back behind the stage.
Behind the stage, yeah,
cool.
yeah. And they're into golf, so they also had an upstairs reality golf setup.
Awesome. Have you ever done one of those?
I haven't.
I haven't either.
You use your own clubs, I think.
And ball. You kind of hit the ball at the screen, and it tracks the ball.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would have broke a window in there too, so that's not an issue. But then the second one that we sold, and we really didn't sell it. We gave it away. It came back to the same church.
That's right. I filmed that. Actually, that video is on Black Dog's YouTube channel.
So they came to us wanting the glass back, and this was how many years after that? 4 or 5?
Easily, not more.
6? Probably
6 or 7. Yeah.
It was, and they came back, obviously a different group, and said, we'd love to, get that window back, and so we just donated it back to them because there was no reason for us to charge for it because, it was nonprofit and it was going to be a community center.
So that's what they bought the building, and they're turning into a...
Right.
Yeah.
So we didn't tear it out too bad. We left some holes in it, that's for sure.
Well, speaking of holes, you had to use one of those giant arched holes in the wall. Not that far after the removal of the window. Remember the giant pocket door?
Oh, yeah, the three door pocket door?
Which I think is now part of what makes up your office wall.
It's the back wall of my office. Yeah. I don't have a roof on my office. I'm kind of a.
You guys are sort of in cubicles almost.
Nah, well,
real nice.
It has to do with feng shui.
Yeah.
But that's the back wall of my office, and it's but it didn't go out like Robert had planned.
Well, I don't think he had a plan. For once in all of the show, up to this point at least, Robert hadn't thought it three steps ahead. Giant. Almost 3 big doors in one bigger door, in a pocket door. And a pocket door is a door that slides inside of a wall when you're not in use.
So basically, this was a room divider.
Right.
Yeah. So they went into the fellowship hall from the sanctuary.
Yeah, and we had to remove a door's width of wall in order to get this whole thing out.
Right.
Which was a chore, multiple hour job. Get it out, hits the ground, and we go, well, now what?
Yeah. Well, the now what was. Hey, we should have done our homework while it was still in. We'd have still done it, but it just gave us a reason to pull our MacGyver out and or put our MacGyver on, I guess, and decide how to get this out. Where's the biggest hole to go through? Well, we just created 2 big holes.
Right, and this is where you truly this role that you occupy in this episode really, I think, sets the tone for the rest of the show. And it's honestly one of optimism. The rest of us are like, oh, no, beat down, pessimistic. And you're like, well, no, we just made a hole.
Yeah.
Let's go up and over. And the initial reaction is, what?
How in the hell are you going to do that? And I think, have you picked that thing up? It was heavy.
But not a bad idea. Yeah. In fact, our only option, really, unless we cut the door apart. And I don't think we wanted to do that.
That wouldn't have been a good – and then you just got 3 doors, so what?
Right.
No big deal. Nothing special. So I saw the opening, and the height of the window would go through, the opening, which was the base measurement of the window.
Right.
And it was
turn the door sideways and go up.
And obviously we didn't have any scaffolding or anything like that, so we had to figure out how to get it up, but mainly how to get it down was probably the most important part.
Because what goes up must come down.
Oh, gravity is that's where the cowboy physics comes in. So I need something for it to land on, which we had a extension ladder.
It makes a lot of mechanical sense, but it's one of the funniest visuals.
Yeah, and there we are. How
are you going to catch it? I'll just put a ladder up.
And let it ride down. It all kind of worked out. I mean, there's some places where I used a step ladder extension ladder to do things that didn't quite finish up that well. But that's another show down.
I can't wait
down,
for that.
Down the road. But just got to think gravity. And look at what you have, your resources, that which are us, and whatever we have. Now, we didn't have a lift in there to lift it up, so we had to bring it up. And
you stuck a board, and you put 2 A-frame ladders folded up against the wall,
right,
and would pick it up a rung's height, and then stuck a board in between the window and the rung as a resting moment, and then do that again. And then it's up 6 feet, and then you kind of just got to
push it over. You got to get it past its balance point.
Yeah, and then once it hits the sill and it goes flat, then we shift. You go outside to help Grayson, who was really just holding onto a rope by herself,
right?
Which I think is a visual they cut to commercial. She's just sort of holding it like, I hope this works.
Yeah. Tell me what to do, boss.
Yeah, and you come out there and it comes over just the smoothest pivot.
Yeah.
Laid with the solid wood part right on the extension ladder and your perfect ramp.
Luckily, it was stiff enough to do that. Because if we had done that with one of those art stained glasses, it would have folded. Like a taco.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that.
I didn't really much either, but looking at it this way, it's like, it'll survive.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about if it would survive. Just got to figure out how to get it out in one piece. So we got that out, and now it lives in the back of my office. The back wall of my office.
Yeah, didn't you cut one off of it anyway to make it fit?
No,
it's all 3?
All 3.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Well, there you go. So it was worth it.
So I always tell everybody when we're walking around Black Dog, we're kind of like I call it the hair club for men. We're not only owners, we're users. And had that guy had that piece on. Anyway.
Shout out if y'all remember that.
Yeah. Hair club for man. None of us, we're not members either. So, but that's we use our salvage too, because it's a resource for us. Why go out and buy something when you got a
prefabricated wall right
warehouse full of stuff, and that's how we build at Black Dog. We find stuff that it may have come in with a build in mind, or it may just have been collected, and now we look for an opportunity.
Something just clicked in my mind about my youth, and I remember naturally going into your garage or workshop before you had the garage and sort of wanting to build something, and whether it was modifying an RC car I had or whatever, instead of saying, I don't have the right tool or I don't have this part, you just sort of root around with what you got.
Yeah.
And go, that's not exactly right, but if I modify this and drill a hole in that and hot glue that to this, it might work.
Well, it's engineering.
Yeah. But then that was way before I even went to work, maybe before Black Dog was even a thing.
Yeah, it was.
And so that's skill, quote unquote, that I learned as a kid to do with what you had and fabricable things together. Really became useful.
Think like a farmer.
Yeah.
When a farmer's, you look at things that farmers, how they repair. And we've seen some stuff where there was a blade from a lawnmower used as a patch for something, you know. And I think that was on my Jeep, wasn't it? Wasn't there?
Oh, up to patch your frame or something, or your bumper?
Somebody had welded a lawnmower blade.
Oh, under the sides. Yeah.
So I mean,
sure
you gotta use what you got, and it makes resourceful. Sometimes it comes out even better than you think. I mean, I used to do the same thing when I was a kid. We'd go build these go-karts, and we lived on a hill, and my buddy's dad was a plumber. And every time we needed, a washer or something, we'd always go raid his truck. I'm sure he pissed off at us for that. So, we didn't grow up with, we did have a hardware store, but it cost money.
Sure. And it's all the way over there.
Yeah.
Like when you're a farmer, you're like, I might be 30 minutes from town and I need to fix this thing.
I'm going to miss getting the corn in tonight.
Right.
So you got to be resourceful out there. And that's one thing that Black Dogs taught us is how to do with what you got and make it work. Something
I still use to this day.
Yeah, you got to.
In this shop right here. Yeah. I'll be building something and I'm like, I just need I'll find something I was waste from another project, cut a piece off and, use it on something else.
Well, that's what I always do too. Right? Everybody says, well, where's your junk pile? So I don't have a junk pile. I have a resource pile. And as soon as it gets down to a small piece, and okay, now I'll recycle it.
I made racks for every length of metal. I have 20-foot racks. I have a 10-foot rack, A-frame. And then if it's below 2 feet, I can put it in these little cubbies.
Right.
And sometimes if it's small but still unique, I'll put it in a fourth optional shelf.
I mean, it's kind of a hoarding thing, but it's resource hoarding.
It works.
It does work.
People ask me like, hey, do you have a flange or a thing? I'm like, oh, yeah, I have a whole pile of reject flanges over there you can modify.
Reject flanges, if I had $1. All right.
Well, we're coming in on 52 minutes or so. The last thing we did in this episode was the Klutz piano shop pick, which was a silly little icing on the cake.
Yeah, it was these guys' father was a Mr. Klutz.
What a name. Kluttz. What a name.
Yeah, Kluttz.
I made sure to write it.
You write it down?
The right way, yeah.
Kluttz. Is it TT?
2 T's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, TTZ.
Yeah, and they had he was a hoarder too, just like most people who are resource driven.
He was good at it too.
He's very specific. It was mostly piano parts, and
and piano related furniture.
I've had enough pianos in my life. I don't need any more. I can't do anything with them. I can do something with them, but
I can't eat another bite.
It costs so much to do it, and there's other things a lot easier. A piano is not meant to come apart.
Not at all. It's meant to be the most solidly built thing ever for acoustic benefit.
I mean, you can look at it and say, "Yeah, I can do that," and then you try and pick a piano up.
No, you won't do that.
That's when you ask for professional piano movers.
Yeah, and hope they don't drop it on your car on the sidewalk.
Whatever works. They're insured, I'm sure. But
how'd that pick come about?
I think one of the producers found them.
Really?
Yeah. And this was back when we were early on, first season still, when they were looking for us as well for salvage jobs and wows and picks.
Right, because it was in their own benefit too.
It
add more to the show.
It was, and I was really hoping they would do more of it because we had to do it all and we had to do the work and show up. But
you never got a producer credit, did you?
Never got one. That's
a real shame.
I really missed that opportunity. No, I didn't beg, but I pleaded a little bit. So I'm like, hey.
I mean, you're doing what a producer does. You're lining it up.
Both Grayson and I.
Yeah.
We both had. We go out and scout and set it up. So maybe y'all can do this in the rears. You can just put me a little and Mike Whiteside.
If they don't do that, I'll put it at the end of this podcast.
I'll be an associate producer, but I think it had a little more zhuzh in that.
But a producer nonetheless.
Producer, yeah. I don't have that. I don't have that on my resume now, so that's kind of a. And Mark Bowe told me that one time. He says, "Man, you should get a producer's credit on that." And I said, "I know. I've asked him to do that.
Yeah.
Never did it. I don't know. I think they thought I was joking."
Sure. Yeah. Why is this guy asking?
What's he need a producer's credit for? I said, "Well, because I did it."
Doing a lot of the work.
Not that I'm trying to take anybody's job. I'm not disgruntled.
Well, there was the on-set producing, which is obviously very important. But producer for a shoot is usually the one that lines up the scout the location and line up the talent.
I was a scout logistics producer.
You were a location manager.
Yeah, not an AP though.
Well, I'll put credits
or PA, production assistant.
Yeah,
that's the lowest man on the totem pole, by the way. But there's some professional PAs out there that really own it.
Yeah, that then become like kind of grips and stuff. They're
right,
also
worked their way up through. That was
Zach Boyd.
Zach Boyd, he was a PA and graduated from Lynchburg, Liberty University with a degree
a film degree.
Film degree. And
Blue Films. That's his wedding videography company. Go check him out.
He was driven. I mean, he would go and sleep with friends, sleep in his car. After a while, I told the producer, I said, this he's adding value here. I mean, at least you could get him a hotel room.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then they finally, they hired him. They hired everybody subs anyway. There was a couple of in-house talent, but mainly.
He was so fun.
Yeah.
He had such a good time.
Yeah, his family was from the Philippines.
I'm going to put a producer credit at the end of this podcast for you.
All right, thank you.
Right here.
Right here. Wherever you see, produced by Mike Whiteside, produced by Mike Whiteside. Yeah. I can produce my own thing. I think that's pretty much it, isn't it? Was there anything else that we did that...
Well, that was it, and thank you guys for weathering the gap here. It's been we went through Christmas and New Year's with no episodes, and really appreciate it. Was a good break.
And we know you've been
just fervently
beating at the door for more.
All 300 of you.
Yeah. Well, maybe someday we'll be 4.
But I will take a moment here to see if there are any comments.
I don't even look.
This guy Bob Dool just says, "Mike, you're a Navy man." December 7th, 1941.
That's it.
That was
Pearl Harbor Day.
There you go. I put a bunch of BTS photos in the last one. That was kind of cool.
Yeah?
Yeah. People said they loved that. A lot of good Christmas wishes. This guy, Zeke Abercrombie. What a name. I was recovering from, if that is your real name, I was recovering from a construction accident last year and ended up watching every old episode of Salvage Dogs. Binge watching whole seasons at a time. Sad to see you go, but love the podcast.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Well, you're welcome. We enjoy doing it, and I'm glad it brought some joy to your life.
A lot of this person, LJP, definitely would love us to include Grayson in some future ones.
Sure.
Got a second kid now. Crazy busy, I'm sure she is.
It's hard to get.
We'll get her in here.
I'd like to bring in some other folks too, like some of our camera people, like Gary and Jack.
Yeah.
And Clark.
I'll be better about the communication there on the front end and see if at least we could get them to call in.
It's hard to get them here, but if they can call in or Zoom in or something, you can put that on there. I think.
Thomas Poeta. Hey, Tay and Mike. My wife and I really enjoy watching the podcast. It's a lot of fun to watch you two banter back and forth, knowing how close you are in life. I like what you said today about the millennium being concerned with mental health, because that is exactly what we need to be concerned with. All of us, no matter what age, period. Keep up. Good work. My wife absolutely adores both of you. I love how he doesn't say I adore, but he said my wife adores both.
It's okay. You can have a bromance. It's fine.
It's a good point, though, man. I love that there's support for that.
Yeah.
That is one of the best things I think about my generation, is that there is certainly more attention being paid toward mental health,
right, and
taking care of yourself.
Exactly, and that is part of the whole package. As a matter of fact, it runs the whole package, and that means your mental condition is paramount to quality of life.
Controls everything else.
Yeah.
You got a bad mental state or
poorly
managed.
We all have them. If you say you don't have them, then you're probably not in touch with your real feelings.
I don't believe you.
I don't believe you either. Even the dog gets depressed now and again. I don't think so. But anyway, they're sitting over there on the couch. Anything else?
Lorewall 1. I missed replying last week, so I'll do it here. I really like this format. I particularly like hearing about what happened to the stuff you salvaged. The original one felt kind of overproduced.
How about that?
Podcasting ain't no TV show, spelled Teevee.
Okay.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah,
Jason, no comment.
We've enjoyed this.
I think it's called cribbing when a horse chews on the boards.
That's correct.
There you go.
There it is. I should have remembered that.
That's interesting, because we also in the fire service called dunnage cribbing, which these might be two words that you don't know, which basically just 4x4s, dense wood that you use to block something up or support something.
Right.
Is that cribbing the same as horse chewing?
No, horse chewing is not not that kind of cribbing.
They're in the crib chewing. Maybe it's a teething.
I don't know.
I'm not a horse person.
We'll have to bring that out. I'll have to bring your mom on for that. She's a horse person.
Oh, apparently we got the date of Pearl Harbor wrong. Another person saying.
Did I say 11th? I said 11th.
Maybe so.
So I wasn't there, so I forget.
December 7th,
it's the
7th.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do apologize to anybody that I got it wrong with. I should know that because I'm former Navy, but I'm old Navy and forgetful.
Sure, man. Yeah. Gosh, yeah, that was 80 years ago, and you weren't.
I know.
You're not 80 years old.
We have a get together every oyster roast every year.
Oh, I put those photos in the last one. That was kind of cool.
To commemorate and hold honor to the people who fought in it and fought today. A lot of those guys are passing. All of the old.
Not a whole lot of the old guard left.
No, they're moving on, and as we all will eventually. But just want to really, again, tell everybody how honored we are to be in this country and to serve our country. And even in these days and times, that it really makes a difference when you respect where you came from and how your freedoms were.
Well, what freedom has cost many people.
Right. It's not free, and that's one thing that a lot of young folks don't understand. And even older folks. I mean, we're a blessed generation. We didn't have a lot of conflict. I mean, we did, but it wasn't on our shores.
Yeah.
So, and that'll change the dynamic when that happens, or if that happens. But let's don't go there. Let's
let's end on a positive.
Let's love each other, and let's try and figure some stuff out this coming year. Hopefully, calmer minds will prevail. But they're human, so they probably won't.
You got any New Year's resolutions? Are you a resolution guy?
I'm not a resolution guy because I always break them. So just to remind yourself to be more grateful. That's really it. And when you do that, you open yourself to truth, and that's all we want. Just tell us the truth, everybody. I mean, it used to be, lie to me, please, because I don't want to.
It depends.
I can't handle the truth.
There's a real good time to lie. You just got to know when. Yeah. Just don't lie to yourself.
That's even the worst. But anyway, I've begun to believe them after a while. I'm not lying to myself. I'm good.
You're pretty honest with yourself.
I'm pretty much. I think that's it. We got an hour in.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for. Understanding our absence. Appreciate you sticking in. Of course, I'm sure at the beginning of this podcast, it took us a little bit to get going, but we've been off for 2 weeks, so we're back at it.
A little more than that, to tell you the truth. And thanks for Defiant.
Yeah, thanks Defiant for selling Dad your whiskey.
American single malt.
It is delicious,
whiskey.
Actually.
It is very good. So if you get a chance, it's at your package store or ABC store near you.
Well, this has been the Black Dog Salvage podcast. Yep. That was season 1, episode 10 of Salvage Dogs, which originally aired on June 29th, 2013. And we will see you next week. As always, like, subscribe, comment. Leave your comments on the YouTube version of the podcast on Black Dog Salvage's YouTube channel, and we'll read them like I just did.
You can find that YouTube and Google Black Dog Salvage. We've got all kind of stuff there about paint. We do some paint classes.
Yep.
We're going to be starting doing more of those. But you can find Tay on his social media, which is liftarkstudio.com.
That's right. The shop's busier than ever. Yep. liftarkstudios.com. Actually, if you go to the link in my Instagram bio, there's every link you could ever want about me. So it's all in one place.
Where's your I need the Gracie glass.
Picture?
Yeah, I just want to. We're always promoting everybody. This is promoting Gracie Whiteside's talent of glass blowing.
That was the Wiggle picture.
They're on the West Coast right now, but they're coming back to do more glass and go up to another residency, I think, at Philchuck. So anyway, stickyglass.com, right?
That's it.
That's where you can find her. And blackdogsalvage.com. Just come see us. We're in Roanoke. Can't miss us. We're one of the things to do.
The thing to do.
Well, everybody said we always fight with the Star.
Yeah,
the Star.
Okay.
The Star's
older.
There's a huge Star up there. It's in the 40s when they made it. So we're the Star City. So that's okay. I'll take second fiddle to the Star.
It's bigger. It's Big Star.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Thanks for watching. As always, we'll see you on the next one. My name's Tay. That's Mike.
See you guys when it goes around one more time. Nice.
I love that calendar. Let me see. There's one in here.
There's one where Sally's behind us. I was talking with some people, and I took a selfie, and Sally's right behind us dropping a deuce. That was so funny. I mean, just serendipity. She always loved to poop behind you for some reason. I don't know what that was all about, Sally.
That's the one right
when
there.
I get a chance to, oh my gosh.
the full visual.
That's a full on. He looks healthy, by the way.
Very healthy.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Y'all be good.